are playing on those rinks and hoping to one day make it to the big leagues. What does this mean to those kids who have those aspirations to play pro in hockey?
Well, the Newfoundland Regiment really provides a pathway to the NHL. Having a Q team here allows players to come and play home. There's two players here tonight that are from Newfoundland, Ben Vetch and Quinn Norman, who, if it wasn't for us, they would be somewhere else. So to be able to bring players home is a phenomenal honor for us. But then for the young kids that are here, that are wearing hats, that are in minor hockey arenas across the province, it provides them an opportunity to say, hey, like, I don't have to go anywhere else. There's an opportunity for me. So that's special.
It benefits the community, just it benefits Islanders, and it's one of those good news stories that I really look forward to sharing some more on.
The schools in the pilot program are Surrey Regional, Colonel Grey, Sherwood Elementary, East Wiltshire, Three Oaks and West Isle. The province says there will be a fee for bookings to cover staff. Friday weather now and looking into the weekend with Jay Scotland. How's it going out there tonight, Jay?
The day is ending a lot better than it started, I think, Louise, with that rain switching to snow kind of early to mid-morning for most areas as that cold front was moving in. And we did see, after near 10 to 15 millimeters of rain, anywhere from a trace to about 5 centimeters of snow locally falling for some areas. Now, not all of it managed to stick for too long, at least, but the cold weather managed to stick around. Let's take a look at what we can expect through the overnight hours tonight. We will be watching for that temperature to continue to drop off. Now, thankfully, the strong wind we've been seeing today does drop off, at least slightly after midnight, but still into the early morning hours with that temperature near or below -10. It will feel near or around -20 with the wind chill. There's a slight chance for a few off and on flurries tomorrow. Not much of a daytime high that you would expect for the last Saturday of March, though. -7, -8, probably going to feel well below -10 with that wind chill for your Saturday, Louise.
Oh, chilly. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
A P.E.I. man has been charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of a woman in Edmonton last year. John Angus Joseph MacArthur is also charged with indignity to a body. The alleged victim was his partner. Police say they were in an intimate relationship and found a history of domestic violence. MacArthur was arrested in Charlottetown last week and taken to Edmonton. He remains in custody. Some island workers at BioVectra have lost their jobs, but the company is not saying exactly how many. U.S.-based Agilent Technologies bought the company back in 2024. BioVectra is a drug manufacturer, has locations in both P.E.I. and Nova Scotia. Company officials say fewer than 45 people are affected. The P.E.I. government says it, too, is still trying to determine the local impact. The towns of Stratford and Cornwall have both passed their 2026-27 budgets. Stratford is in the last year of an increase to property taxes. They're up by 2 cents per $100 of assessed value per year.
We figured that we had to pay as we go. We have to pay for things. We can't put it on future generations to pay the costs that we're incurring today. And it's sort of like pay as you go, which I think is a responsible thing to do. And so that's the reason for the tax increases.
The town says the cost of police and fire has gone up, and it's continuing to build its new community campus. Over in Cornwall, property taxes are staying the same, but water and sewer rates are going up.
No council wants to make increases, and we know we're all living in a time that is difficult, but yet to be sustainable and move forward and keep what we have, and for the safety of our residents as well. I mean, when we look at lagoon and water, what more safer services do we need to keep working on? So it's a focus for the future.
Cornwall is also partnering with Stratford and Charlottetown for an on-call regional accessible taxi service. An organization that helps keep vulnerable mothers with their children is celebrating being open for 2 years. It gives women a place to stay. Sheehan Desjardins has more.
So this is one of the rooms here.
Almost every room at Hope House is full. That's been the case pretty much since it opened 2 years ago. It's for vulnerable moms or moms-to-be and tries to help keep everyone together and out of foster care.
We hit the ground running and we never stopped, and I don't know if we expected to be that busy, but it certainly shows that there's a need, and it shows that we have a lot of really brave and courageous moms that are coming and willing to put the work in.
There are just 5 beds. Since April 2024, she says the organization has supported 16 moms. Several are on the wait list now. Manager Holly Boudreau has been working here since day one.
It's crazy. Like I've cried with people before with their babies taking their first steps. We take celebrations really seriously here. So somebody gets their driver's license, we're celebrating. Sobriety milestones are important as well to celebrate.
A mom who used to stay in this room told me it changed her life. Before, she lived in a storage locker, struggled with addiction, and lost custody of her 2 kids. Now she's sober, has a house, a car, a healthy relationship, and custody of her daughters again.
So to think that moms would come here and it has changed their lives is absolutely incredible, and it makes it so worth it to think that someone's life was changed and children were now in a healthier situation and in a loving, caring home.
She says 8 other moms have also been reunited with their kids. The cost of a stay depends on the situation, but she says it takes about $1,100 a day to keep the facility going.
We're not receiving government funding right now, so we would love to work with government to work towards that. But right now we are fully funded by individuals who feel inspired and understand the impact of this type of work.
In the future, she hopes to offer more options, like a day program or transitional housing, to bridge the gap when moms and their babies move on. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Summerside.
Grade 3 students packed into the Eastlink Centre in Charlottetown this week to learn all about agriculture. Organizers say it's a chance for kids to learn about where their food comes from, among other things. Connor Lamont paid them a visit.
It's not every day you get to pet animals, play in the dirt, and hop on a tractor, unless you're a farmer. And during Agriculture Adventure Days, these grade 3 students got to see how fun and important the work is. The idea is to teach them about farming and where our food comes from. There's different booths set up, teaching things like how plants are cared for.
They need water and food and shelter.
Organizers say around 1,400 kids are taking part. There were 17 classes learning in Summerside earlier this month, and 57 classes are checking out the action at the Eastlink Centre this week.
It just brings it to life for them, I believe. They're able to walk around, meet farmers, and see what other professions are out there. And maybe someday we'll have little farmers grow up and do this for us.
You think you have a few little farmers in your class right now?
I think I do, yes.
Zakem says she tries to bring agriculture activities into the classroom as much as possible, so days like this are perfect. And for the folks running the booths, it's a lot of fun.
It's a chance to kind of pass on our knowledge to a younger generation, and people seem to be, as generations go on, maybe a little bit less connected to the farm, like as there's fewer farms on Prince Edward Island, so to give a chance to just kind of pass that knowledge on that once was maybe taken for granted.
The event takes place during Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month.
We did add an extra session so we wouldn't have to turn any classes away. Last year we turned classes away for attending these days.
So they learn that, milk actually comes from a cow, and here's my local dairy farmer. They learn about the pests that we have on P.E.I. They learn about how important worms are to the soil. It's a great opportunity for them to connect and learn all about where agriculture actually happens.
Zakem says some students in her class are still thinking about their career path.
Would you like to become a future farmer someday?
Maybe.
Connor Lamont, CBC News, Charlottetown.
60 years ago, one of the most recognizable symbols of the P.E.I. legislature came to be. The mace started as a weapon to defend the monarch. Now, it's an important part of the tradition of the Legislative Assembly. Have a look.
I am Gord Campbell. I'm the Sergeant-at-Arms here at the Legislative Assembly. We are currently in the chamber at the Legislative Assembly, and we are going to be talking about the mace today. The mace has been around a very long time. It was once used as a weapon to defend the king and royalty. That changed its process over time, and then weapons became more the norm, and the mace became a ceremonial item and used in legislatures and Parliament, and is now the insignia basically of parliaments and the authority of the Speaker. In 1964, there was a meeting here by the Commonwealth, and it was decided that there would be a mace commissioned for Prince Edward Island because we hadn't had one. It was commissioned and presented to Prince Edward Island on February 24th, 1966, in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the Fathers of Confederation signing at Province House. Every day there's a speaker's procession. I lead the speaker in with the clerks and the pages, and the mace is placed on the upper rack of the table when the speaker takes his chair or her chair. Anytime the speaker is in the chair, the mace is there, which gives the government the authority to do its business. And when the speaker leaves the chair for any reason, such as committee of the whole, the mace is taken from the upper rack and placed on the lower shelf. It's a ceremony, but it's a proud moment too. I like the traditions, I like the history, and to bring it to the people, to bring it to government, I think it's really important to be very formalized and take it very seriously.
And it's very beautiful too. Well, here's a look at the latest gas prices. No change in the price of regular gas today. Diesel, furnace oil have both dropped. Diesel down 6 cents to $2.43, and furnace oil is down 5 cents. The maximum price there is now $1.80. Little bit of breathing room. We're back with more Compass for you after this break. Okay, so a little bit again of this and that seems to be the theme, of course, as we talk about the early days of spring, as we almost are at April.
Now, I was working ahead for next week.
Okay.
I have people who watch me around the building here, and I will carry this piece of paper around with me. It's my forecast, it's all my climate information, and I was looking ahead to next week, and there are some days where the record snowfall is 10, 20 centimeters. That's in April, because Wednesday is the start of April. So I just want folks to know this is,
But that's not going to happen this year, is it?
All right, let's take a look at our, no, I'm kidding. I'm not seeing anything that big in the forecast. But this morning we did see, and it was anywhere from a trace, I believe the highest snowfall observation was one of the 2 volunteer sites in Charlottetown, was 5 centimeters that was filed this morning. Now, a lot of that was melting on contact, and we did see anywhere from near 10 to 15 millimeters of rain, but the wind was the other story today, and that was in part why we saw the rain change over to snow, was that change in wind direction. So now, after starting out this morning, I think at 6 o'clock this morning, it was around 2 or 3 degrees on the plus side. I get up early to pack the lunches. I was checking the temperature, and I went, okay, it's rain, 3 degrees. The next hour, 7 a.m., we were at 0, and that was because the wind had veered around to the northwest. And that's where it's been all day, a north to northwesterly wind, sustained between near 30 to upwards of 50 kilometers per hour. That's the sustained wind up west at North Cape this hour. We are seeing a few gusts beyond that, but the wind's generally in the 25 to 50K range this evening. It does begin to ease further and gradually after midnight tonight, but not enough that wind chill will not be an issue tomorrow. It will be an issue if you're up early tomorrow. Maybe you have an early morning ice time. You got to get an early start to your Saturday. It's going to feel very much like we dialed the, not the clock back, but the calendar back a few weeks at least. Temperature-wise, between -1 and -4, factoring in that brisk wind, though, feeling anywhere from -6 to -14 with that 50K wind up into North Cape. We'll be looking at wind chill values overnight tonight into the early morning hours tomorrow, potentially between -17 and -21. So the wind chill will be an issue tomorrow. Weather not too bad, though, not nearly as windy as today. We did see, as anticipated, that sky begin to gradually clear through the early to mid-afternoon. The sun breaks became more frequent, and by late afternoon, it was fairly sunny, stayed cold, and that wind did have some bite to it. Very gusty at times today. We'll continue to see a clear sky through the evening hours. Sunset is not until, I think, 7:34 tonight, so it's near daylight now till close to 8 p.m. So not too bad of an evening. Through the overnight hours, though, those clouds do begin to build back in, and the wind will be easing at least, but that cold air is not going anywhere. We will watch for a chance of maybe a scattered flurry or two through the middle of the day tomorrow, and then that sky clears up nicely into Sunday. Ridge of high pressure to our south sees a sunny but cool start to the day on Sunday. Temperatures likely staying near or just below freezing, though, and we could see a few passing clouds through Sunday afternoon. So overall, a cooler but still not a bad wrap to the month of March, at least the last weekend of March, with April beginning on Wednesday next week. Between -10 and -12, feeling near or around -20 with the wind chill tonight. And that's it for a daytime high tomorrow, between -7 and -9. And factoring in that not gusty but brisk wind, we will be looking at temperatures at least feeling into the low to mid-minus teens. So between -10 and -15. Through the warmest part of the day tomorrow. Similar story for the eastern half of the island. Those clouds do begin to increase as the wind decreases after midnight. Daytime highs not stellar. Wind chill will add a bit of insult to injury as well. So it is cold for your Saturday and breezy, cool for your Sunday, still a bit breezy, but not too bad. And then it's windy, but a warmer wind direction on Monday. It sees temperatures back on the plus side with some flurries changing over to rain. And we could be looking at some heavier precipitation to start the month of April. Warmer temperatures with a strong wind on Wednesday as well. So we'll need to keep an eye on that one. Let's take a look at our first photo for you tonight now. This was taken by Robin Murchison Jackson, and a beauty shot of a very familiar site, of course, for Islanders and for tourists that come to visit as well. This is one of the spots, isn't it?
I love Point Prim Lighthouse, and I haven't been there for so long.
I never see it this time of year either.
That's beautiful.
I feel like a fair weather friend to Point Prim Lighthouse. Shows you that it's beautiful every time of year.
He only goes during the fair weather.
Yeah. It's a beauty scene. Compass at cbc.ca if you want to send your photos our way. I will try and get a trip up there before it gets too busy.
Thank you, Jay. Coming up, it was a very somber start to the spring sitting of the P.E.I. legislature following the death of Health Minister Mark McLean. As the legislature moves forward, there are still many important issues on the agenda this session, and after the break, we'll bring in our political panel to take a closer look. Stay with us. The spring sitting of the P.E.I. legislature got underway this week. A much different tone to start after the tragic passing of Health Minister Mark McLean. And we once again offer our sincere condolences to his family and friends. Paul McNeil and Sally Pitt are back for our first political panel of the sitting. Lovely to see you both.
Good to see you.
Welcome back. Obviously, a very somber tone to start things off with the passing of Mark McLean. Paul, what do you suspect will be the theme or some of the issues that will shape this session?
Oh, well, it'll be affordability, it'll be healthcare, it'll be maritime electric, and it'll be Premier Rob Lance trying to show Islanders that he is in control and he's captain of the ship and he's navigating with a plan. I'm not sure we saw that in the speech from the throne. I'm not sure we've seen sort of any indication that the government really knows where it's going. But the speech from the throne was just a speech from the throne. The budget will really be the one that tells the tale.
Sally, what do you make of the tone so far? It's early days.
I think it's going to be a feisty session. Hal Perry has come out both days of question period, directing questions directly at the Premier, trying to put him on the spot. He has, I think, held his own pretty well, trying to pivot those questions into positive things the province has done. I think what we saw with Rob Lance for the past year has been someone who has seen himself in a holding pattern, holding the position for someone else. And I think that now that he has committed to the role, I think we're going to see a very different Rob Lance. I think he's going to, as is the case in politics, opposition parties and the Premier trying to control the message. And with him, the control, some worrisome things that I have noticed in the past week. One is that there were no embargoed copies of the throne speech to the media, which is traditionally how it happens, and also no pre-session interviews that the Premier usually does.
I think it's interesting. I'm not sure we've seen much movement from the Premier. I mean, in the dying minutes of the fall session, he promised that he would look at patronage appointments to Iraq, and then he said, we'll do it for all of government. There was no reference to that in the throne speech. Maritime electric, that was going to be the first piece of legislation he brings forward. He promised that in the leadership campaign. Now it's suddenly a complicated document that'll take a while to get before us. So I think Premier Lance needs to show that he's assertive without just thinking that everybody will forget what he said.
Yeah, the throne speech. I mean, there wasn't a lot new in there, although it was not mentioned in the throne speech that the Premier said then in the after interview that there will be cuts in the budget. Paul, where do you see they're going to cut?
Well, I suspect they'll find attempt to find some room in attrition. Because that's an easy one. That's an easy one for government. They'll cut some programs. I was pleased to see the speech from the throne say culture is not on the cutting block as it is in Nova Scotia, because that's important. The reality is that the biggest cost in government is employees. And unless you're... The other thing that was in that potentially could be interesting is the regional cooperation they talked about. I mean, you need 3 governments all singing from the same hymn book on that. I'm not sure we've got that level of cooperation yet, but that's where our region can really drive ahead. I mean, my concern is that this is a sort of a stay-pat budget with a big deficit that the bond rating agencies will look negatively upon and lower our credit rating, which will increase the debt service charges, which are already $170, $180 million.
Yeah, I mean, Sally, given the growing deficit, as Paul mentions there, spending does have to be curbed somehow, but where can they cut? And not, they keep talking about still helping Islanders and not taking away things that are helping.
Affordability was one of the 3 key priorities that were identified in the throne speech. I can see this being a budget that comes out with some help for people who are on social assistance, the ones in the lower bracket of income who are really, really struggling, and then a huge gap. Because there is a huge gap in between those who are on some sort of social assistance and those who can afford to weather this storm out. And my concern is that you're not going to see, I hope there won't be any cuts to social services. There certainly shouldn't be. But what we might see is just like a chipping away at the budgets of of departments across the board. No increases and some cutting back. And also maybe perhaps extending the time. So if there was a 5-year plan, making it over 6 years. So they have less money to put up front.
Yeah. The other quick thing is that the government is sort of hedging everything on the fact that we're a growing province. Our population has declined the last 2 quarters.
We're going to have fewer tax dollars coming in, and the economy won't be performing nearly
if the government
same.
doesn't cancel NHL.
Here.
No, I'm not going to go in, but symbolically, it's important because it's delivered zero for tourism, and optically, it's important because we can spend that $8 million elsewhere.
Lots of things.
All right, we don't have much time left, but I do want to talk about healthcare, the changes at the helm, allegations of political interference. It was interesting today, Corey Deagle saying, I did say sorry to the board for not letting them know that she was going to be, we'll say, moved out of her position. What did you make of that, Paul?
Well, I mean, that's political meddling. And the Tories are trying to change meddling into consultative. That's how they're trying to change the verbiage. Ultimately, Health P.E.I. board is a waste of time. The provincial government is dictating healthcare policy to the Health P.E.I., but they refuse to do it in a structured form of governance where government actually sets high-level benchmarks that Health P.E.I. needs to meet, and the CEO is held accountable. This is our 4th CEO for Health P.E.I. in 5 years. The Tories have to wear that.
Sally, your thoughts?
Yeah, and you know, this health board was set up totally so that government could distance itself from unpopular decisions. And calling it collaboration is just really mincing words. You got to be in or out, and it's not working, so it needs to be restructured for sure.
I mean, the fact that the board didn't know that Melanie Fraser was going to be moving on from
Exactly. Serious faux pas on the government's part. And yes, Corey Deagle did apologize, but in terms of optics, not a good optic, and they're going to have to consult with all levels of healthcare to fix this, to regain the trust of the employees, to get them here, to keep them here, and to also regain the trust of Islanders, that it's actually working.
That's the key word, right? Trust. All right, thank you both so much. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as we go to break, here's a look at the current temperatures across the country. It is -2 currently in Charlottetown. We are back with our community and then national and international news in about 3.5 minutes.
Well, I would say the Lions are often guests here. We have a lot of Lions clubs across PEI, often making the trip in to chat on our community. But this is a rare time. We actually have 2 Lions actually joining us now, right, Jamie?
That's true. We have the male and the female version.
So Mr. and Mrs. Lion, we were saying?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And well, we'll get some other names here, though. You are?
Capri. Everett.
Everett. They're putting you to work today. You're holding the sign.
Sure.
You're doing the heavy lifting, Everett. You are?
Elliot. Scott.
All right. And Mr. and Mrs. Should I get close? Though there's some pretty sharp-looking teeth there. Those will come in handy for the brunch, by the way, those chompers. So we're talking about an all-you-can-eat brunch, which is actually happening this weekend.
This Sunday at North Rustico Lions Club, Sunday, March 29th. It's from 10 to 1 p.m., and all the proceeds will be going to the QEH and the PHC in Summerside and Charlottetown.
Okay, so you're supporting both Prince County Hospital and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So, and this is so supporting healthcare, the two of the big hospitals here on PEI. Is there a goal? How much you're hoping to raise?
No specific goal, just whatever we can make, we give it all to them. So just to help out.
And speaking of whatever you can make, what will you be making for the brunch? What's on the menu for Sunday?
We got bacon, ham, sausage, toast, scrambled eggs, fish cakes, brown beans, pancakes, juices, and coffee and tea.
Okay, so I don't know why it's between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, the tum-tum is rumbling. I always ask what's on the menu, and then I get hungry. But the fish cakes are really what a lot of folks talk about.
A lot of people do love the fish cakes. That is correct.
Now the Lions are hungry as well. I hope that's a tummy growling, not the lion growling there. So how much is it going to cost for this all-you-can-eat brunch?
It's $25 an adult at the door and $20 for a kid. Or you can get the family package, which is 2 adults and 3 kids for $50.
So $50. 5 people, 2 adults, and 3 kids can be eaten, and there's going to be juice and coffee and that as well. So where do folks go to enjoy the brunch?
Just come out to North Rustico. We're on Timber Lane, right behind by the Bay Restaurant in the North Rustico Lions Club, and come on in. You can purchase your tickets once you come in the door.
And if I wanted to check you guys out online to get all of the information and just find out where I'm going, where's the best place for that?
Go to North Rustico Lions Club Facebook page.
All right, and you have a website as well, which I think has a lot of the same information. Great looking poster, by the way, up on the website. So Sunday, 10 to 1, get that great family deal, or $25 for an adult, $20 for kids. Proceeds helping both the PCH and the QEH. Thank you so much for stopping by and for bringing tame Lions today. If you'd like to stop by, be sure to drop us an email. The address is peicommunity@cbc.ca.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with G7 leaders today. He insists his country could achieve its objectives within weeks, not months, and could do it without the use of ground troops. Katie Simpson has the latest.
The status of peace talks, it remains unclear at this time, given the mixed messaging from all parties involved. U.S. President Donald Trump says the talks are going well, so well that he decided to delay that ultimatum he delivered to Iran. He ordered the regime to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or else the U.S. would target Iranian power plants. But that has been delayed by a total of 10 more days, the new deadline being April 6th. At the same time, Iranian officials insist negotiations are not happening. There are no formal conversations. However, officials have confirmed that messages are being shared through friendly countries acting as intermediaries. As those conversations or the exchange of messages, whatever is happening behind the scenes in this moment, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he's taking part in a series of high-level meetings with his G7 counterparts in France, talking about the concerns the Americans see once the fighting in this conflict is over.
I did describe to our allies, however, that immediately after this thing ends we're done with our objectives, one of the immediate challenges we're going to face is an Iran that may decide that they want to set up a tolling system in the Straits of Hormuz. Not only is this illegal, it's unacceptable, it's dangerous to the world, and it's important that the world have a plan to confront it. The United States is prepared to be a part of that plan. We don't have to lead that plan, but we're happy to be a part of it. But these countries have a lot at stake, not just the G7 countries, but countries in Asia and all over the world have a lot at stake and should contribute greatly to that effort.
Anything that complicates shipping through the Strait of Hormuz poses a challenge for global energy markets and could, in effect, mean higher prices for a longer period of time. All of this is happening as the fighting across the Middle East rages on. The U.S. and Israel say they continue to hit military targets across Iran, trying to degrade their military capabilities. At the same time, Iran continues to fire missiles at Israel and missiles and drones at Gulf region countries as well. Israel's defense minister issued a new warning to Iran, saying because Iran continues to target civilian infrastructure and civilian locations, that Israel will intensify its attacks on Iran and expand its target list. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Doha.
The United Nations Human Rights Chief is demanding justice for the victims of an airstrike on a school in southern Iran that killed at least 168 people, the majority believed to be young girls.
Senior U.S. officials have said the strike is under investigation. I call for that process to be concluded as soon as possible and for its findings to be made public.
The calls for the U.S. to conclude its probe came during an urgent debate into the deadly attack, which happened on the first day of the war on Iran. Preliminary findings from a U.S. military investigation say a cruise missile hit the school on February 28th due to a targeting error. The federal New Democrats choose their next leader this weekend. The result will come Sunday at their Winnipeg convention. David Thurton has more.
As we speak, New Democrats are voting right now, selecting the next leader of the NDP. 5 candidates are on the ballot. Tennille Johnston, a social worker, is pushing an anti-poverty platform. Tony McQuail wants to put electoral reform back on the political agenda. Rob Ashton, a Vancouver dock worker and Labour leader, is in it to unite the working class, bringing back New Democrats. The party lost to the Conservative. The 2 other candidates are Avi Lewis and Heather McPherson. Both are the perceived frontrunners. McPherson is a sitting MP from Alberta. She is positioning herself as the pragmatic candidate, the one who can work with the NDP's provincial wings to rebuild the party.
New Democrats, we're strong. We are government in Manitoba. We are government in British Columbia. You know, we are official opposition in the Yukon, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Nova Scotia. You know, we need to work together.
Pushing transformative policy proposals is Lewis. He's calling for public grocery stores and an end to new fossil fuel expansion.
I feel excited. It's, you know, there's a kind of a jarring disconnect between the amount of energy and momentum at our base and the fact that the country isn't yet aware of it. And so I think this weekend is our re-coming out party, and I think it's going to be really exciting.
New Democrats face a big decision. It's unclear how many of the 100,000 eligible voters have actually cast their ballot, but they have until Saturday to make up their minds. David Thurton, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Liberal MP says he made a mistake after downplaying reports of forced labor in China. Michael Ma apologized after coming under fire from the opposition for his behavior at a parliamentary committee. Olivia Stevanovic explains.
Do you believe there's forced labor in China? After downplaying human rights abuses by China, Liberal MP Michael Ma still refuses to call out the country by name. Do you believe there is forced labor in China?
I believe there are forced laborers all over the world.
What about China specifically?
Well, all over the world.
The scrutiny began at the House of Commons Industry Committee.
You claim about forced labor in Shenzhen. Have you witnessed this yourself? Have you been there?
During an exchange with a witness about reports of forced labor to make Chinese electric vehicles.
Just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no? So did you get that
I
from
work closely
hearsay?
with Human Rights Watch, where researchers did witness it.
At first, Ma's office said he was asking short questions to move away from what they called an anti-China EV witness, and then give the floor to a pro-China EV witness. Hours later, Ma released a statement saying he asked questions that inadvertently came across as dismissive of the serious issue of forced labor, was referring to a different region in China than the witness, regrets the mistake, and apologizes.
It was a stupid question on his part, frankly.
After the meeting, the witness says she gave Ma a copy of a report documenting forced labor in China.
He said that he only believes things that he can see with his own eyes, and that he and I should go to Xinjiang and see if there's any forced labor there.
Either he is
deliberately uninformed or he is deliberately blind to the reality.
Ma recently crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals and joined the Prime Minister on his trip to China earlier this year, a visit criticized by his former party.
I think the Prime Minister needs to clarify what exactly is the Government of Canada's position.
In his latest statement, Ma says he condemns forced labor in all its forms. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
U.S. President Donald Trump is putting his mark on that nation's paper currency. Trump's signature is set to appear on U.S. dollars later this year, presumably not Sharpie size, though. The U.S. Treasury Department says the move is to mark the country's 250th anniversary. No sitting U.S. president has had his signature on the dollar before. Trump has already pushed for a $1 gold-colored coin featuring his likeness. In northern Quebec, there is concern right now over just who is involved in the development of a potentially huge rare earth mineral mine at a time when the U.S. president has made clear he wants a steady supply. Stephen D'Souza, co-host of The Fifth Estate, takes a closer look at how major U.S. entities are making big moves in Canada's industry.
Canada is a mining nation.
At the biggest mining conference in the world, Canada's energy minister came with a blunt message.
There's an obvious elephant in the room these days. We are at a hinge moment in Canadian history.
As Canada looks to break from U.S. dependence, Tim Hodgson says our abundance of critical minerals will play a big role.
Ultimately, access to your own critical minerals, access to your own energy is sovereignty, is strength, is security.
Critical minerals and rare earth elements are in many of the electronics we use every day, including renewable energy technology. But they're also used in missiles and drones. China controls much of the world's supply, leaving Canada and the U.S. looking for alternatives. One option, the Strange Lake site in northern Quebec. The federal government has given an unprecedented $175 million in loans to Torngat Metals for what could be the biggest rare earth mine in Canada. But a major investor in the company is Cerberus Capital Management, a controversial company with close ties to the Trump administration, and critics warn that could be an issue.
Why is the Canada not clear and transparent and coherent about the fact that the United States has so much leverage over our minerals?
And we found the U.S. Department of Defense has invested more than $300 million in Canadian mining and technology companies, all tied to critical minerals. Hodgson wouldn't say if he'll put limits on U.S. investments in our mining sector.
We will continue to trade with the United States. We will continue to trade with them when it benefits Canada. What we're focused on doing is growing our relationship with other countries.
The Torngat mine, though, still has to go through environmental assessments, so it's years away from production, if it's approved. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
The investigation Critical Threat airs tonight on The Fifth Estate at 9 on CBC TV. You can also catch it everywhere you stream CBC News. Cherry blossom season is in full bloom in Tokyo. Crowds are flocking to the parks after several days of rain. So beautiful. In Japan, it's a tradition to view the flowers. Many people take in the view while enjoying a meal with friends and family. It's often a time to sport some traditional garb or perhaps an inflatable sumo suit, whatever floats. The season officially started last week a bit earlier than usual. Just stunning. Beautiful. Here's how the markets fared today. The TSX was spared the big losses that we saw south of the border. It was up 73 points for the TSX. The Dow down 793, and the NASDAQ falling 459 by the ringing of the closing bell. The Canadian dollar slipped 16/100ths of a cent, 72.07 cents U.S. The price of oil up $5.16, just a few cents shy of $100 U.S. a barrel.
Hi, I'm Mitch Cormier. Every week, we're sharing a bit of P.E.I. with you. This is P.E.I., bringing you stories from the place you call home. And we'll do it all in under 20 minutes. The top news stories of the week, an update on things you're already talking about, stories to make you think, maybe make you smile. Whatever we're talking about, it's going to happen somewhere between North Cape and East Point. This is P.E.I, dropping every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Our last photo is stunning, was taken by Barbie McKay Larkin. Absolutely gorgeous sunset overlooking the Confederation Bridge from a few weeks ago. Wow. Oh yeah, so it's hard for me to see from that far away. The bridge, but the bridge is right there, and that's a fiery sky.
Yeah.
Oh, and you can see the reflection. See in the water.
Oh,
too.
you can. Oh, that is a fiery sky. And dare I say it? I think this is what the kids are saying these days. That photo is fire.
On fire.
It's fire.
Oh no, you don't say that. Yeah, you just say fire. It's fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's fire. So nice.
I don't think we're fooling anybody.
1,000% not. Absolutely not. But listen, we put forth the effort. Let's see the almanac.
It's misleading.
Okay.
Because when you look at it, you think, it's not bad. 5 degrees. It's above seasonal.
That's tonight?
That was like 3 in the morning. Yeah, by 7 a.m. it was 0, and then we dipped further down to minus 3.3. We recovered a little bit with that sun returning, though, into the afternoon. But after a messy start, I mean, the cold and the wind that followed wasn't all that bad because we had some sunshine at least. Yeah. We'll start out tomorrow with breaks of sunshine. The sunrise will be around 7 a.m. tomorrow. And then as we look towards mid-morning through mid-afternoon, there is that chance for off and on flurries. It's not as windy as today, but windy enough that -9 in the morning will feel closer to -20, factoring in the wind chill. So be ready for that.
You know, just think how much we're going to appreciate actual non-winter weather.
Yeah, June is going to be great.
I'm holding on to hope. Okay, thanks for joining us. By the way, not only is it playoff time for the Charlottetown Islanders, but also for the Summerside Western Caps.
Yes.
Tied 3-3, the Caps and Amherst Ramblers are headed to a 7th and deciding game in the Eastlink South Division semifinal series in Summerside tomorrow, 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Good luck and good night, P.E.I.